14th, 2022 regular Wasilla City Council meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, council, please put away cell phones. If you've got personal business to attend to during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to all attendees, the meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly in the back of the council chambers, right above the clock. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard. Here. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Vlock.
Here.
You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Brown, and Vlock are with us. Council seat F is vacant.
Okay. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Graham, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you for the honor, Madam Mayor.
The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing none, then the agenda will stand as the agenda is approved as it stood. Okay. The special orders of the day. We are now to special orders. There's one proclamation that I will read. The City of Wasilla proclamation recognizing Education and Sharing Day. Whereas a quality education is one of the significant foundations for the continuing success of our state, our country, and our society at large. And in the great city of Wasilla, we strive for the betterment of all of our citizens through an increased focus on education and sharing. And whereas, through providing the possibility of an excellent education for all, especially children, with which to gain knowledge through rigorous study, we can create hope for a brighter, kinder, and more united and prosperous future in the lives of so many. And whereas the educational system must also focus on building character by emphasizing the cultivation of universal moral and ethical values that have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, including the values known as the 7 Noahide laws. And whereas one of the leading global advocates for the advancement of education, the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, stressed the importance of moral and ethical education as the bedrock of humanity and the hallmark of a healthy society, and strongly urged that education be reinforced by the inclination of strong moral values. And whereas, in recognition of Rebbe's outstanding and lasting contribution toward improvements in world education, morality, and acts of charity, he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and the United States Congress has established his birth date as a national day to raise awareness and strengthen the education of our children. And whereas April 12th, 2022 will mark 120 years since the Rebbe's birth, and the day will be celebrated across the United States and around the globe in tribute to the Rebbe's vision, guidance, and leadership. And whereas for more than 40 years, the President of the United States has recognized and honored the Rebbe's vision each year on that day by proclaiming it Education and Sharing Day USA. And whereas we can nurture the unity of diverse peoples through encouraging increased acts of goodness and kindness, imbued with awareness that every single positive act of an individual can make a major impact in this world. And now therefore, I, Glenda D. Ledford, Mayor of the City of Wasilla, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 12th, 2022 as Education and Sharing Day in the City of Wasilla, and call upon government officials, educators, volunteers, and citizens to reach out to young people and work to create a better, brighter, and more hopeful future for all. There he is. Okay. Rabbi Greenberg is here with this evening to give remarks about Education and Sharing Day.
Okay.
Welcome, Rabbi.
Think about these ones first.
Okay.
تدعم يعني مرة يمكن
Sorry.
No Hebrew.
I'm not that impressive.
All right. Very impressive. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, are you?
Really?
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, the Assembly. This proclamation is a tribute to a great man with an important message for all of us. Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson, known as the Rebbe, became the leader of the Chabad Lubavitch movement in 1950. While he concentrated his efforts on rebuilding and organizing the global Jewish community after the devastation of the Holocaust, he paid great attention to the needs of all humanity. When other leaders worked diligently to grow a following around themselves, the Rebbe trained his students to move out to every corner of the globe to set up outposts of education, light, and love. Today, Chabad Lubavitch has representatives in every continent on the globe, in over 100 countries, and in every state in our union. The first Chabad institution in Alaska was established in 1991 and is now also most importantly in the Valley. The Rebbe's global impact is so great that he is the only rabbi to have been awarded the Congressional Gold Medal and to have a National Day of Reflection proclaimed annually in his honor. The Rebbe taught that every individual, and in fact every individual action, has an impact on the entire universe. The Rebbe emphasized the importance of education and good character, and instilled the hope for a brighter future into the lives of countless people in America and across the globe. The Rebbe taught that education in general should not be limited to the acquisition of knowledge and preparation for a career. Instead, educational system must pay more attention, and indeed the main attention, to the building of character, with emphasis on the moral and ethical values, especially those which have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the Noahide laws transmitted through God to Moses at Mount Sinai. Over the last 4 decades, the U.S. Congress has set aside Education and Sharing Day and proclaimed annually by its presiding U.S. presidents from both parties on the Rebbe's birthday, which is 4 days before the Jewish festival of Passover, in tribute to his commitment to teaching the next generation of Americans the values that make our country strong. This year we are celebrating 120 years since the Rebbe's birth, and is observed this year on Tuesday, April 12th. This day provides Americans the opportunity to pause and recognize our responsibility to ensure that our young people have the foundation necessary to lead lives rich in purpose and fulfillment. Education and Sharing Day is about creating conversations. It is about the conversations we have with our children around the dinner table, the conversations we have with our students in classrooms, and the conversations we have day in and day out that can have an impact on the hearts and minds of our young ones. The Rebbe teaches that in truth every person is an educator, and we must be mindful of our ability to impact the lives of others. People are more influenced by the things they do than the knowledge they are taught. Therefore, beyond the conversation, it is important to promote these ideas through action. In 1974, the Rebbe instructed a charity campaign. This was not a fundraiser for a specific cause or a call to philanthropists to write big checks. Instead, it was a grassroots campaign to train us to become givers. The idea is simple. Set aside a box in your home or your office as a charity box and start off the day with giving small amounts of charity. Children should have their own charity boxes and should be encouraged to give charity every day. This will educate them to have empathy and care for others. The catch is to do this on a consistent basis. Beyond the value of accumulated charity money benefiting worthy causes, the hand becomes a giving hand, and one becomes a giver as a result. Education and sharing are synonymous, since Becoming a giver or a sharer demands education, and it is up to us to set a proper example for our children. In about 1 month, on April 12th, will be the Rebbe's birthday, and has been proclaimed now by the mayor of Wasilla, and likewise will be by many other government bodies here in this state, including the Alaska State Legislature in a little bit, as Education and Sharing Day in Alaska, calling upon all Alaskans to reflect on our collective obligation and opportunity to enhance the true education for our children, to serve as proper role models, and to take concrete action to bring more goodness and kindness into the world. The plastic yellow boxes that you have on your desk is a giving box known as ARC. ARC stands for Acts of Random Kindness. It's part of a global initiative to train people to be givers. The box is yours to keep, to fill, and to share its content with a charity of your choice. There's perhaps no greater way of observing Education and Sharing Day than making giving a habit in our lives, thereby transforming acts of random kindness into acts of routine kindness. Thank you very much.
Rabbi, it's my honor to present you with the Wasilla Proclamation recognizing Education and Sharing Day.
Thank you. Very much. Sorry.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, we are now at Commission and Agency reports. We'll begin with a report from the Recreational Service Director, Bell, on the recent Parks and Recreation Commission meeting.
Scott Bell, Recreational Services Director, reporting on our meeting last Wednesday. The Park and Rec Commission report includes we had our Learn to Skate program wrapped up with their annual winter show, and this year it was titled Walk This Town. Past events, we've had several year-end hockey tournaments from our IHL, which is the Intermediate Hockey League, the Menard Hockey League, and today the 18U house teams played. Upcoming event is the Matsu Outdoorsman Show, which will be March 25th to the 27th. Very excited, as they are actually going to be using the turf in the arena this year, so they're using the whole facility. Our last day of ice is this Wednesday, March 16th. Cleanup, we've submitted our permits and are working on our cleanup days, Arbor Days, music in the park, 4th of July activities, including fireworks, and the New Year's Eve fireworks show. The commission is looking to have a park passport this year, encouraging children to go to different parks, see all the different facilities that we have, and so that is in the works right now. And our next meeting will be May 11th.
Is there any questions from the council? Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Bell. Director Bell, the windstorm, as I'm sure you've noticed, has destroyed or significantly damaged a lot of our street banners that line streets and walkways here in Wasilla. Would repairing those fall under Parks and Recreation, or would that fall under Public Works? Is there a plan for that?
Public Works Director Danielle.
Danielle Bischoff, Director of Public Works, through Mayor Ledford to Councilmember Graham. Yes, we are in the process of, there's been a number of wind damage items that have been assessed, and we're currently working with our insurance agency and getting detailed quotes as to how to replace certain things. So right now we are getting quotes on the banners. They were damaged to some other ones previous to the windstorm, but as of right now, yes, we definitely see the need to get those back up, and we are in the process of working on that and getting the old ones
Thank you, Director, and I certainly appreciate that, and I hope getting them down becomes kind of an immediate priority. They look pretty ready. Thank
We're
you.
on it.
Are there any other questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Johnson?
Director Bell, sort of a follow-up, but along the same lines, but this would be more along in your budget area. I had my grandkids to, I forget what the name of the park, just south of Spruce there last fall, and I was noticing that could actually use a bit of repair and repaint, particularly in the playground area. Do you know if we have any plans to do a little bit of refurbishment to the playground area in that park?
The actual park maintenance is all with Public Works Department.
Sorry.
Which park is that?
Which park is that? What? That one right there. This is Spruce, so here it is.
It's on off Mystery.
Yes, Soft Mystery.
Bumpus?
Yeah.
Oh, the Bumpus Fields? I didn't know
Yes.
there was a
Yeah, there's a nice
playground there.
playground area in there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll have to look into that further, but one of the things, we are looking to try to upgrade certain things over at Bumpus this summer.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Wasilla High School report. Would you please come forward and state your name?
Hi, I'm Jordan Harris, and I'm representing Wasilla High School. And today's city council notes are both girls and boys basketball teams traveled to Palmer this week for the region championships. The girls are the number 2 seed and play the winner of Colony Kodiak on Friday, and the boys are the number 5 seed and play ACS on Thursday. Softball, baseball, track, and field, and soccer officially start on Monday, March 14th. Warrior Nation had its first winter formal dance on Saturday, February 26th. It was a tremendous success as it was good to see everyone having fun, enjoying being together, and seeing things back to normal. Speaking of things getting back to normal, Warrior Nation had its first school-wide assembly post-COVID. School spirit is back. Our annual Warrior Hockey versus Warrior Wrestling basketball game took place. Warrior Hockey was triumphant, beating the wrestlers 4-2. In addition, this was the first time in over 7 years that hockey beat wrestling. At the end of March, Warrior Nation will be celebrating students who received a 4.0 GPA for first semester. Despite some of the stories that we hear across the nation, the state, and our district concerning the learning gaps that have been created because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Warrior Nation had more students achieve a 4.0 in semester 1 than any other semester in recent memory. We had over 90 students achieve a 4.0 or better. Warrior Nation is proud of the academic work our students are doing. Principal Marvel will be hosting his monthly cafe on Wednesday, March 23rd. As always, City Council members and Mayor Ledford are invited. It runs from 8 to 8:30 a.m. And Warrior Nation will buy the coffee. This is a great opportunity for the city of Wasilla to learn more about what is happening in our local high school, as well as hear about all the amazing things that our youth are doing for the community. Finally, Warrior Nation would like to wish Mayor Ledford and City Council members a happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for your continued service to our community.
Thank you. Would you state your name, please?
Jordan Harris.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Johnson?
Sorry, Ms. Harris, to put you on the spot. There was an effort to rename, which road was that? Cruzy, and I think last time a question was asked by Stu as to whether or not there had been any meetings or follow-up on that initiative. Do you have any information on that?
I do not, but Wasilla High School can if you have more questions.
Thank you.
I do have some information on that, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Graham?
I am in contact with one of the counselors and a government teacher, so both Senator Wilson and myself are working with the leaders over there to get the students involved, to take a look and see exactly what is going to happen if we rename that Cruzy Street Warrior Way. So that project is ongoing, but I would caution you the same thing I tell everybody else: if you're looking for things to happen quickly in the political world, it's just not going to happen. But we are working on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Wasilla High School on the 4.0. That's great. And good luck on that basketball. We are now at public participation. There are two ordinance scheduled for public hearing this evening. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the first ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's ordinance serial number 2207, amending the fiscal year 2022 youth court budget by accepting and appropriating $1,650 from the Alaska Peace Officers Association, $7,500 from the Department of Health and Social Services, Division of Juvenile Justice, and $7,500 from the Department of Health and Social Services Division of Juvenile Justice, and $750 from Luke, Shauna, and Delbert Henry for costs associated with the annual United Youth Courts of Alaska Conference in Wasilla, Alaska.
Thank you, ma'am. The public hearing on ordinance serial number 22-07 is open. Anyone who would like to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. You've got 3 minutes. Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2207?
Madam Mayor, I move ordinance serial number 2207.
Is there a second?
Councilman Brown, second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Sullivan Leonard and seconded by Councilmember Brown to adopt ordinance serial number 2207. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know how many of you are familiar with youth court, but youth court is a tremendously important asset that we have here in Wasilla, where students who have, well, not just students, but youth who become criminal offenders have an opportunity to stand before their peers, which are fellow students, and essentially come to grips with the effects of whatever crime it was they committed, and to do public service to relieve themselves of that record, and that way it never ends up on their record and doesn't end up with one strike and you're out policy. So for those of you that aren't aware of this, I suggest that you look into it and definitely support the folks doing this, and I'm definitely very appreciative of folks that are donating to this cause. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please take a roll call vote on adoption of ordinance serial number 22-07.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Vlock.
Yes.
The motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2207 passes unanimously with Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Brown, Vlock in support. Council seat F is vacant.
Madam Clerk, please read the title of the next ordinance scheduled for public hearing this evening.
Thank you. That's ordinance serial number 2208, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget by appropriating $20,000 within the vehicle fund and transferring $20,000 from the general fund administration department for additional funding to replace the mayor's vehicle.
The public hearing on ordinance serial number 22-08 is open. Anyone who'd like to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 22-08?
Madam Mayor? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. I move ordinance 2208.
Is there a second?
Councilman Brown, second.
Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
At this point in time, could we get a quick summary from finance with regard to what the usual protocol is with regard to the replacement fund, why we have a need for additional $20,000 for this ordinance, and then what the usual makeup is with disbursement of vehicle funds and vehicles?
Mayor, Councilman Colleen Sullivan Leonard. So the vehicle fund, the departments are responsible for maintaining their own fleet. And with that said, it's a little different for each department, but in any case, speaking to this one, it was budgeted in this budget to replace the mayor's vehicle at a $40,000 appropriation. Because of the supply chain issue and because of COVID and whatnot that we're experiencing, and we experienced with recent purchases with the police department, these costs of these vehicles are higher. And the dealers aren't abiding, if you will, because they don't really have to, through the state contracts to get that price down. They can just sell them off the lot and gain that price. So in this particular case, it was budgeted for a new vehicle, for that vehicle then to be transferred to the deputy administrator. Deputy administrator's vehicle is still a viable vehicle. And the museum one was targeted for replacement as it's 2005, I believe. It's an older rig. I know that vehicle came over from, I believe, Mayor Keller days. Finance had it for a while. I know that vehicle's had issues. I know Finance put probably $5,000 into it, trying to keep it going. It's always had a, I don't want to say a starting issue, but it's oftentimes dead when you go to start. I don't know that museums had the same problem after Finance got that repaired and whatnot, but I think that Octagon. But in any case, that's the museum vehicle is the one that's being targeted for replacement. Now, any of these vehicles that we replace, if a vehicle is deemed for replacement, and that vehicle, say, has some viable life left to it, and there's a need within the city, parks, park service, what have you, we always eliminate those needs first before we actually sell it at auction. Did I answer all your questions, Mayor?
Yeah, just one more if I could, Troy. I'm just looking at the financials here, and it looks like total budget for FY21 amended budget, we budgeted about $691,000, and then for the amendment for FY22 adopted budget, we're looking at an addition to the $625,000. So I guess I'm still seeing that if you want to compare last year's budget to this budget, we'd still be paying less than what we normally would for vehicle replacement. Is that correct?
I'm following you, yes.
Okay, very good. Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Troy.
Councilman Brown.
Through the mayor to Troy again. Again, looking at the world situation and supply chain, I'm assuming that we have locked this in at 60,000, or is it possible this could go up?
It's always possible, but I would, obviously, the encouragement is we keep the price tag 60,000 or under. You know, I suppose it's possible that if a vehicle's out there that probably worse than the mayor isolate that being that vehicle and it's more than 60,000, we will end up having to go back to council.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Tankersley, for that discussion there. I am not going to vote in favor of this ordinance. I mean, we're taking the mayor's vehicle, which is 4 years old and has 32,000 miles on it, is in excellent shape, to put it mildly, and we're going to replace that because we're at the 4-year point, and well, we've always replaced it at 4 years, so that's what we need to do. And we have budgeted, $10,000 a year to go into the vehicle replacement fund, so that we could buy a $40,000 vehicle to do that. You know, given, as you talked about, the supply shortages and the shortage of vehicles and so on and so forth, and the need for an extra $20,000, so to increase the budget for this vehicle replacement by 50%, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to replace a vehicle that's in excellent shape. The deputy administrator's vehicle is also in excellent shape, has low mileage for its age. I believe it's 8 or 9 years old, and has, I believe she told me only has about 50 some odd thousand miles on it. So these are vehicles which get used frequently for short trips, but really don't get any mileage or heavy use on them. So one of the things we can look at in the future is changing that 4-year cycle to extend it out a little bit. And as you said, the deputy mayor's vehicle would then transition to replace the museum's vehicle. The museum didn't used to have a vehicle. We used to just pay the director of the museum mileage to use his or her own vehicle to make things happen. And then we've transferred, former Mayor Keller's vehicle, as you said, as it went through the deputy administrator and then went through finance and then went to the museum. And since they've had that vehicle, they've put, I think it was 1,300 miles last year on it, 1,300 miles last year on that vehicle. And it's shared between the museum and IT, I understand, our IT department. So, we're taking and replacing a vehicle that has 62,000 some odd miles on it. True, it is more than 15 years old, but somehow I think that we're just not doing the right thing here. If we need to get a vehicle for a museum and IT to share, we certainly don't need one the size that they have now, because typically they travel, there's just one person in there and maybe one bag of something. But if we're going to spend $60,000 essentially to replace that vehicle, because that's what we're doing, even though the mayor's going to get the new one. But I was on the lot at Ford the other day. You could buy a brand new vehicle which would suit their needs for $28,700. That's on the lot. That's list price. That's brand new. I don't see this being a smart use of money. I'd rather wait us out another year, continue to put the $10,000 a year into the vehicle replacement fund for the mayor and look at it that way. But I see us spending $60,000 to replace the museum vehicle with 62,000 miles on it. I just don't see that as being a wise use of funds, and I can't support this. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor, the question that I have is, so we are thinking of replacing the current mayor's vehicle with a similar vehicle, is that correct? So we're going to replace it with the large size SUV?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is our current gas budgeted for the city? Realizing that last year our gas prices were at $2.50, this year they're at $5 something, and so we're looking at another high mileage or low miles per gallon vehicle that's huge. So
I don't have that figure.
okay,
Tell
so
you that.
my point is that in this current economy, I'm thinking with gas prices skyrocketing, wouldn't we be better off to replace it with a car that gets a lot more gas mileage? And I just can't. I think that myself looking at it, sending the wrong message in this particular economy by buying another huge car that gets low mileage, with all of us suffering for high fuel costs. So I guess I may support it if we can come up with maybe an option that would be a whole lot more fuel economy, but at the way that it currently is, I guess I can't support it.
Mr. Johnson, I can tell you I fill up once a month. If that means anything. Is there other discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Sir?
Just want to follow up that it is not so much that, it is the message that we are sending to our constituency in terms of the current situation that we are finding ourselves. Just like with COVID, we went ahead and we did things that we wouldn't normally have done. In this particular case, we're into a very similar situation, and I think that we need to lead by example. So that is my feeling.
Madam Mayor, have you used, say, the room in that vehicle? I mean, the mayor has that large a vehicle, I'm assuming because they take people places. There's maybe a group needs to go here, or go there, that we need the space.
When we travel to different conferences and whatever, and, okay, us women's got to have at least 2 bags, if not 3, and it fills up the back of that car. And a lot of times, I'm running from point A to point B and picking up boxes of stuff and whatever. So, you know, the back of that car is used.
And also, and I see Council Member Graham's point and Mr. Johnson's, but also I see that, you know, we're kind of, I would rather see us buy a new, roomy vehicle that is going to be used for many, 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 many years and be filtered down to places like the museum or whatever, than buy some cheap, no thrills, little compact car off the lot for, say, the museum or something. I personally think this is better use of our dollars.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please take a roll call vote on adoption of ordinance serial number 22-08.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Graham.
No.
Councilmember Johnson.
No.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Wheelock.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, that motion fails with Councilmembers Sullivan Leonard, Brown, and Wheelock in support. Councilmembers Johnson and Graham opposed. Under our municipal code, you need 4 votes to carry any motion before the council.
Thank you, ma'am. We are on to persons to be heard. That's 3 minutes per person. We don't have anybody signed up. Okay. We will go on to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the items for approval under the consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 sets of meetings, special meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2022, and the regular meeting minutes of February 28th, 2022. We have 1 ordinance with a recommended public hearing date on April 11th, 2022. That's ordinance serial number 2209, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget by appropriating funds in the amount of $99,286 for 3rd quarter budget adjustments to cover budget shortfalls for the airport, code compliance, roads, and library. No resolutions and no action memorandums.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
So moved by Councilman Johnson.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Sullivan Leonard to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. There are no items scheduled in unfinished business, so we move on to new business. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the first item.
It's an update from administration on emergency response efforts related to COVID-19.
I have not taken any new measures in response to COVID-19.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So I think we've all seen the news that there may be a new COVID strain originating from China. Are we prepared, as the city, prepared with continued PPE to be able to weather any future storm that may happen due to COVID?
Finance Director Tankersley.
Mayor, Councilman Graham, I know that we stocked up on masks, and I'm not sure where that inventory is. Tomorrow. But outside of that, masks and lotions that we have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Tankersley.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
Again, through the mayor to Mr. Dickerson. There was an article today that CDC was recalling some of the test kits that was out. Do we know whether the test kits we purchased fall in that?
I don't believe they do.
Is there further questions?
Follow up on that test kit question from Councilmember Brown. It was a different brand than what we distributed.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please read the title of the next item of business.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's AM number 2205, appointment to fill vacant council seat F, interview of applicants and appointment.
Okay. Before we begin, please note applicant Dusty Joe Peavy pulled his application on March 10th. The clerk has suggested an interview process is outlined in the AM. How does council wish to proceed?
Mayor, I suggest we proceed as the clerk suggested.
Okay.
Just to clarify, Madam Mayor, the council does wish to go with the point system then? Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. We are going to go, I'm going to let the clerk explain this system to you.
Madam Mayor, to the body. So the interview process then will follow as outlined in the AM. First part of that process is to conduct our interviews. We're going to go alphabetical order by last name. So our first applicant is Joy Lynn Bozer. So at this time, before we begin those interviews, I would like to ask Benji, who works in the clerk's office, to take the other applicants up to our conference room until it is their turn to interview. And then while I have all the applicants quickly in the room, I just want to reaffirm, in case the council does want to go into executive session to discuss the applications and the applicants. I know you had received an email from me, but just so it's on the record, is there any objection to that, or would you prefer that any discussion about your application or yourself take place in public? No objection to the executive session. Thank you. So if you'd like to follow everybody but Jolynn Bozer, if you'd like to follow Benji, that would be great.
She's coming.
Oh, okay. Ms. Bozer, do you want to come on forward? And so council and for the audience, each applicant is going to begin with making, they have a maximum of 5 minutes to do an opening statement to the council. We'll follow with questions. Each council member who submitted questions, we have 6 questions. And so each council member who submitted the questions will ask them of each applicant.
Okay. Ready? I want to say good evening, Mayor Ledford and council members. My name is Jolynn Bozier, and I'm here this evening to express my interest in the appointed position for the current seat F vacancy. For those that don't know me, I'll provide a little information about myself. I've been here almost 7 years, having moved here from the hustle of the DC metro area to live with my family. And no, I'm not a politician. I say that kindly. You'll find me to be conservative and open-minded with the ability to serve the Wasilla Council and our community fairly. My most recent employment history spans over 20 years in finance and real estate while managing over 300 agents, so I understand fiduciary responsibility. I've also been a small business owner in Wasilla and know the struggles that can be faced in a small town atmosphere. I eventually closed my business and accepted a position as the association executive for the Valley Board of Realtors, which included reporting to the state and the National Association of Realtors in Chicago, which is the world's largest trade association. My employment career has always centered around finance in some capacity, so I can utilize that experience in this position. In addition, I'd also like to offer a few past volunteer positions, which adds to my ability to work within the community. Chamber of Commerce, Women in Business President for 3 years,
My responsibilities included an annual air show, police fundraisers, state's largest holiday electric light parade, annual fashion show fundraisers, and executing the organization of the Parade of Homes volunteers and schedules within the Iron County Home Builders, which is in Cedar City, Utah. I was also a board member of the Iron County Chamber of Commerce, a member of the Iron County Home Builders for 3 years, charter member of Toastmasters, which I feel very rusty on, and created a scholarship for non-traditional students returning to college. I named it CHEW, and that's Coins Helping Educate Women. So these were basically women that maybe got married early, had a child, raised a child, and would planned on going back to school. So I'm really proud of that. And it's still operative today. So in closing, I'm passionate about supporting the growth of our community while keeping fiscal responsibility in check. And if appointed, I would be honored to serve on the council to the best of my ability. Thank you very much. Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon. I'll ask you your first question. If you could address one issue to change or improve services to Wasilla residents, what would it be, and what recommendations would you present for discussion to the City Council, and why?
I believe you're going to hear a lot of objections on the new taxation rates for real estate. Unfortunately, timing is tough. This is tough times, and people aren't ready to see that. While appreciative of their increased value, this may be something that's brought up. How to address it, I haven't looked and read enough to give a proper answer on that.
Thank you.
Question number 2, Mr. Brown.
Do you feel Wasilla city officials are using appropriate media sources to keep residents informed of current issues and policies? If not, do you have any recommendations on how we could improve how we inform our citizens on public information, events, and other issues that impact the city?
I read a lot, and I try to keep up on what's going on in the city. I'm very pleased. I think Mayor Ledford has done a remarkable job. I listened to your little radio quips, and just yesterday I saw where one of our residents has taken the initiative, and he will be traveling to Poland to help in the registration of the people and helping get them dispersed. If I hadn't read that in the newsprint, I would never have known. So I think our papers are doing a fine job.
Maybe misunderstood the question. Do you think we are doing enough, the city, keeping our citizens informed?
Only if they attend the meetings.
Okay.
That could be a goal. Feed them and they will come.
Thank you.
Number 3, Colleen Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Moser, for being here today. I appreciate you stepping up and wanting to serve Wasilla. As a small business owner in the city of Wasilla, my question might be something that you know a little bit about. My question is, the council is the legislative branch of the city government. our council sets policy and we set the budget. The city generates around 76% of its revenue from the 2.5% sales tax that we collect, and that's equal to about $18 million annually. Do you think the city revenue is being used efficiently and effectively to meet the needs of the Wasilla residents?
I believe if you ask the Wasilla residents, they would probably come up with a million more issues to be taken care of. That's a very good question that again, needs to be reviewed. But as far as I'm concerned, I think you do a great job on 2.5%. You're not in a city that's receiving 10%. So on taxation. So you do a marvelous job on 2.5%.
Thank you. And we know too that a larger percentage of that sales tax that is collected goes towards public safety. So for you, what are one of your highest priorities then with the city revenue?
One of my highest priorities is KGB. There's a lot of congestion that affects the city as you travel through it, especially on the parks in the evening. It's almost impossible to get out of any of the businesses, so that's probably what I can think of right off the top of my head.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Graham, question 5.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Bozer, for being here today and for expressing an interest in serving your city. There's a shortage of folks that would like to do that, and I'm glad to see so many here tonight. So I have 2 questions for you. The first question, what do you see as the most pressing concern facing the city of Wasilla in the current year and in the coming 3 years?
Well, senior citizens and the medical field. I see an awful lot of the new medical buildings going up. It's like Pill Hill over there. And the seniors are in need of more transportation. Fewer are driving around. And I don't know that it's easy for them to get to their destinations. If we had some sort of public transportation that would take them where they need to go, I think that would be very helpful, whether it be a little golden bus or whatever. And the other thing that might be pursued at some point is residential living on top of small business. So it's a walking community.
Thank you, Ms. Bozer. The 6th and last question, which I'm sure you'd be glad to get to.
But I only have 4.
The city currently has no bonded indebtedness. For what projects, and examples of project would be a city hall rebuild, airport expansion, road construction. So for what projects would you consider using bond money as a financing source?
That's a tough one.
That's not an easy chair to sit in.
No, no. 5 minutes up. Bond issues, let's see. I really don't have an answer for that right off the top.
Thank you for considering it.
I will think about it.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That concludes.
I get to go.
You get to go. You're free.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Finally time to meet the man that says the little white car that never goes home.
Brief moment, and then next first applicant, Mr. Ian Crofton, will be here. Well,
Yeah,
with me.
Benji went to get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Ian Crafton?
Yes.
Okay. We have 6 questions, and the person that's writing them will be asking them. So we will start with question number 6. Mr. Graham?
Madam Mayor, we'll start with his opening.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, oh, I guess we're just not doing that now.
Got ahead of myself.
It's probably going to be a little bit longer of an evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Thank you again for this opportunity to consider me for the seat that is currently vacant. Currently, I have been a resident for about 15 years in Wasilla. I've spent 20 years here in Alaska as a whole, so some time out of Wasilla. I grew up out here, going to Wasilla and Wasilla High School and Wasilla Middle School. Spent a lot of time at church volunteering. I went to Good Shepherd Lutheran, actually spent a lot of time at the food bank as well. I remember a very cold day shucking corn back on the back porch there one time. I'm pretty sure the corn was frozen. So if I wasn't spending my time volunteering, I spent a lot of time playing baseball or riding my bike down here downtown to go ride around in the park or just play in the park. But one of the biggest things that I actually found that kind of lacked here was our winter activities. And one of the big things that I am very, very curious in getting involved into is actually helping expand some of our winter activities here in the city. Something that I oddly thought up of last night was something like an indoor park, kind of like we have Wonderland, but indoors. Anchorage has actually built one now. And so I think it'd be a really great idea if that's something that we started considering. As I mentioned in my letter of interest as well, I'm currently a realtor. I work with Keller Williams Realty. And one of my biggest obstacles, because I drive everywhere all over this valley, is our roadway systems. We were actually just discussing upstairs some of our roads right now and how, well, potholes have started coming about here. So one of the big things I'd love to look at is expanding our roadways to help with traffic flow as well as the safety of our roadways through more roundabouts, or I actually am a big fan of the suicide lanes. It helps keep traffic flowing and allow people to turn in and out without having to cross 2 lanes of traffic at one time. My third major goal, if I were to be appointed here, is our business development. Being a realtor as well, I talk to a lot of people that want to come to the valley here, and one of their biggest concerns is not only the traffic and the roadways, but actually job opportunity, because when they come out here, they still have to commute into Anchorage. And so I've been wanting to look into ways that we can help make small businesses easier for people to develop out here so we can further develop the city of Wasilla. And I was actually very excited when this seat came vacant, not just because somebody left it, because I was actually already planning on running for Councilman Harvey's seat this fall. So whenever I found out that this seat got vacated early, to me it just felt like an opportunity that we could start working together and achieve some of these goals that I was looking into. So, thank you.
Okay, as I said, there is 6 questions, and the maker of the questions will be asking them. So we'll start with question number 6, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ian, for your interest in being here. It's great to see somebody that grew up here, wants to continue to serve. So my question starts with a statement. The city currently has no bonded indebtedness. For what projects, as an example, City Hall rebuild, airport expansion, road construction, but not limited to those, for what projects would you consider using bond money as the financing source?
It's a great question. Thank you. I guess it just varies on the benefits to our constituents. Is there a weighted benefit to them that it would be worth using that money at that time? Because again, I love the idea that the city is without debt, and so if we don't have to spend the money, then there should be no reason to spend the money unless there is a big enough benefit to our clients, to our constituents. I remember actually the building of the Menard Center, for instance, we raised a 0.5% of sales tax, and to me, I was still young at the time. Obviously still young now, but I remember it was actually very interesting because I worked at McDonald's at the time and going, oh, because I worked there, I memorized the amounts of how much stuff was, so whenever it changed, we actually removed the tax, was actually a very big surprise. So that would be something I would almost want to consider again. Again, nobody likes taxes, but if we could raise the money to fund a project, that's what I would prefer to look at.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Graham, question number 5.
Mr. Crafton, what do you see as the most pressing concern facing the city in the current year and in the next 3 years?
The most pressing concern in the current year and the next 3 years? I think
Could be 2 answers.
Pressing concern right now, as you mentioned, is another strain of COVID. I think that is a big concern that we look at because we do have a lot of fear around what people think. There is this very big divide where you have some people that feel we need to be wearing masks and we probably need to put our little dividers back up, and then you have other people that don't, and so you tend to sometimes shun one side of the party or one group of people if that's a concern. Over the next few years, I could still see that being a concern. Gosh, that's a hard question. I think our other big concern is development, furthering the development of the people wanting to move and continue the use of Wasilla. One thing. Wasilla the city itself is a very small area, but we are extremely influential because the greater Wasilla area is very vast. And so I think continuing to satisfy everybody in this greater Wasilla area is a big concern. That's something, again, what I've been interested in is continuing to offer more activities and opportunities for our people here.
Thank you, Mr. Crafton. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question number 4, Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm taking notes as we're talking here. My question number 4 is, what are your priorities or your philosophy in how the city revenue should be spent?
One more time, what was the question again? Could you repeat it?
What are your priorities, or I guess what your philosophy is in how the city spends their revenue?
Spends the revenue, I think it should all go back to the constituents in some fashion of either offering opportunity for them or creating a happier place to live, a place that they enjoy.
All right, and then question number 3, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
So the city generates, about 76% of its revenue from the 2.5 sales tax, and annually that's about $18 million. Do you think the city revenue is being used efficiently and effectively to meet the needs of the Wasilla residents?
Yes, I do believe it is. Could we find more things, and could we start finding other opportunities for the people to want to do? Yes. I think we could always, there is always more that can be done.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Thank you for coming. Do you feel Wasilla city officials are using appropriate media resources to keep residents informed of current events and policies? And if not, do you have any recommendations on how we could improve how we inform citizens on public information, events, and other issues that impact the city of Wasilla?
I'm really actually glad you asked that question. Something I've been thinking about as well, as something that was, okay, what can we do about this? From the younger generation, technology is something that comes a little bit easier. Actually, last night our pastor mentioned it at church, and it's something you have to keep up with, and even I'm already realizing I'm falling behind on it. I think we're doing well. Of course, again, we can always do better. There's always an opportunity to do better. And I think the biggest thing is just finding the avenues that people will see it and utilize it the most. I think one of the big ones could, as we all know, would be Facebook, is pushing it out more in front of people in Facebook. I would say for somebody that has lived here for a very long time, sometimes it's actually hard to find a lot of the public events that are happening here. If you're not in the know, you don't know a lot of times. And so what avenues we could do, I'd definitely be something I'd be interested in looking into and discovering.
Thank you. If you could address one issue to change or improve services to the Wasilla residents, what would it be? What recommendations would you present for discussions to the council, and why?
One more time, what was
If you have one issue that you could present to us that could improve services or improve things in the city or change things in the city, what would that be?
I think it goes back to being a realtor in our road systems here. The biggest difficulty we have here is that we live in this odd-shaped valley. There's no direct access to anything. You kind of have to go around everything to get where you want to go. But even then, that still proves difficulty if you hit the peak times. We're in a really unique situation where we have heavy traffic flow at certain times and near no traffic flow at other times. And if you hit it at the wrong time, it can be prove difficult. I was at the meeting the last regular session when we talked about, for instance, the connection from Higher Road to West Hawk Lane. And Councilman Graham, you had mentioned that the south quarter didn't seem like the best option. That was something I was actually very interested in, as well as devising other options. The roadway improvement, not only through adding more roundabouts is something we do benefit from, and also more suicide lanes to make it easier to get in and out of areas, would not only just improve quality of life, but also it improves our emergency services being able to respond to where they need to go. I think was it last night? Here recently, I was going somewhere and I was crossing through Palmer Wasilla and Parks Highway, and there was an ambulance stopped in traffic behind a block of cars because they were sitting at the stoplight and they had nowhere they could go. There was no way around. And so, again, there's always opportunity to try and help our emergency services travel.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that is the last of the questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next one will be Elena Rubio.
Is that a 5-minute timer? Thank you, Elena, for replying. Okay. Good evening. My name is Alina Rubio. I'm a second-generation born, raised, and proud resident of the city of Wasilla. To start off, I would like to take a moment and direct towards all past and present residents, council members, mayors, and community servants in this great city of Wasilla. Thank you. Thank you for this unique and growing community that offered countless others and myself such an amazing upbringing as a child. Thank you for the ample business opportunity that has been induced to keep the city growing and thriving since its beginning. And mostly, thank you for keeping this a safe and family-centric community with fun and exciting opportunities for all ages. Simply put, I cannot imagine raising my own family, 4 kids by the way, anywhere else. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I am here tonight to further my purpose, responsibility, and ultimately my service to continue the encouragement of the city to be a bountiful community for all of its residents and visitors. I am the bold and qualified choice for future city council, and I will serve on the basis of the understanding and betterment of the community as a whole based on the following. I'm a lifelong resident, 40 years and counting, and I have a strong, diverse, and personal relationship throughout this community. I'm a Wasilla High graduate, Warriors, holding a Bachelor's of Science degree at Oregon State, go Beavs, and dedicated to serving my city through continued education and devoted community involvement. I have and continue to coach, educate our youth through pre-education, athletics, and sports since 2012. I have graciously served on the Wasilla Planning Commission for the past 3 years and have been honest with my choice, even when not popular. I am an extremely successful entrepreneur that supports increased opportunities for small businesses and shopping local. I love humanity and I respect all walks of life to the highest degree. I am a communicator who eagerly listens to understand rather than to reply. I am a wife and a mother that practices and appreciates strong Christian family values, and raising children should be kind, thoughtful, responsible, and beneficial members of society. I am also, as witnessed tonight, a terrible public speaker with plenty enough humility to attest to it. In closing, I am inspired by all of you currently serving as council and would be honored to work with you in the years to come. Please choose Alina Rubio for City Council.
Okay, we have 6 questions.
6?
6.
Ooh. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we will start with Councilman Brown.
Nice seeing you again.
I know, right?
We'll follow right over here with the other commissioners.
I would like that, definitely.
Thank you. If you could address one issue that could be used to change or improve services to Wasilla residents, what would it be? What recommendations would you present to the council and why?
It's a great question. Can only choose one. The one thing that I would change, and you've worked with me on the city commission, is, and we are working on that, is the codes for the city, for small businesses to enter the city limits. And how we would make that work is obviously what we've been trying to do is change and get a committee together to people that are qualified for that. Not saying that any of our commissioners or councilors are not, but we need a committee. The Matsu Borough did use a committee. It did take 3 years to come up with those codes. But I would like to see our community bring small businesses into the city. And right now, how it stands, it's really an extra cost. Even myself, owning businesses in the city, is the landscaping, and that's detouring people out of our city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. Do you feel Wasilla city officials are using appropriate media sources to keep residents informed of current issues and policies? And if not, do you have any recommendations on how we can improve how we inform the public on public information, events, and other issues that impact the city of Wasilla?
Great question. I love it. So I hate social media, but I have to play the game, right? This is our new billboards. This is, they're not watching commercials anymore. They're scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, all the different things that you can do socially. So I think City of Wasilla is doing great with what they're doing. I would say that you would have to push even harder on that elm because that is where it's at. And we have to kind of go with the times. And then, of course, I think opening it and making people aware of what's going on. You know, fireworks at the city for the New Year's, for ice skating. I had no clue, actually, living in the city and being part of the city, that we had hockey tournaments over the weekend. And so I feel like sometimes there's lack of that. I do know a lot about Wasilla High and sports around. I do train hockey teams, but I did not even know that was going on, and I didn't know this new one's coming up. But I feel like it is definitely where younger groups of kids 30 and under are looking and using that, and that is who we're trying to get into our city for future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Colleen?
Thank you. Thank you for coming forward to put your name in to be considered for city council. I've been in your seat before, and it's not easy, so
Thank you.
for being here.
Make it easy then, just a little.
Darn.
Right?
All right, let me start. I like to look at finance and budgets, and so that's kind of where I'm tailored. The city generates about 76% of its revenue through our 2.5 sales tax, and that equals about $18 million annually. Do you think the city revenue is being used efficiently and effectively to meet the needs of the Wasilla residents?
That's a great question. I'm going to be honest with you. My husband does all the financial statements and everything else. That's why we're always late. I can pull a pung in the room for this, but I do not know enough about the revenue of what the city tax has spent on. I know what we have done with it, with the Menard Center. I know what we've done with the library. I know the moves that we have made, but I am not educated enough to go on record with a detailed answer for you.
Can I follow up with that, Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
You're a small business owner here in Wasilla. I guess, can you say how the sales tax has affected you then as a small business owner?
I incorporate it in my pricing. You're asking, does it affect my clientele with the 2.5%?
No.
No.
I'm just saying, you see the effects of sales tax, and so are you seeing that around your business in the sense of, you know, road access or sidewalks or any of those kind of things?
I think ideally, I mean, there's a lot of work for the city to get everybody on the same page. Obviously, it was not built as a cobblestone, you know, and we're trying with the new overlay, but that will take years. My business is surrounded by, I would tell you, you know, it's right across the street from, it's on Enterprise from one of the city pump houses. But I would definitely tell you, if you looked around our community, and this is something I even brought to Tina Crawford when we were trying to do the landscaping. My place was up to code, but nothing around there is. And so I think that's the struggle with sometimes when you think, here we are, what are we spending city tax on? And I know as a whole everyone's working on that, but I'm not sure where it's being spent.
Okay, very good.
I don't have the answer for that.
All right, I'm kind of following that same vein. But, so what is your priority or your philosophy in how the city revenue should be spent in Wasilla?
It's a great question. I feel like that we should be looking to bring in young families, making it very family orientated, and business thriving for small businesses to shop local, to bring that in.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Give me just a minute. I'm finish up my notes here. Okay, thank you, Ms. Rubio, for being here. It's great to have somebody that's a lifelong resident looking to continue to serve, and thank you for your service to this point. Like the others before me, I have 2 questions for you. The first question is actually kind of 2 parts. What do you see as the most pressing concern facing the city in the current year and in the next 3 years?
Current year, I would tell you our road infrastructure, for sure. In the next 3 years, I would tell you that we definitely have a problem with homeless right now. and crime.
Thank you, Ms. Rubio. The last question, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that. Starts with a statement. The city currently has no bonded indebtedness. For what projects, examples of capital projects might be the city hall rebuild, airport expansion, road construction, but are certainly not limited to that. So for what projects would you consider using bond money as the financing source?
Definitely the road infrastructure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. The next one will be Tammy Shields.
And there for our applicants, there's water in the back of the room if anybody wants a bottle of water. The city council, whomever.
Yes.
You have got 5 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Hi, my name is Tammy Shields. I am a mother, a grandmother, and a small business owner. I have lived in Alaska since 1999 and in Wasilla since 2014. When I saw the posting for the vacancy, it was kind of an aha moment, and it pretty much kind of stemmed back from COVID when the businesses were shut down, and then when we reopened and people started coming into my shop and they started just sharing their hopes, their dreams, their fears, the things that were going on in their lives, kind of how they felt hopeless and helpless. And I just really gained an appreciation for the community that we live in, because people do come together here in Wasilla. I don't know of anywhere else in the lower 48 where people support people like they did, and they do. My business has been able to stay open in spite of everything, and I'm incredibly grateful. And so then when I saw that posting, I was like, this is how, one way that I can give back to my community. And I just love where I live.
All right, we have 6 questions.
I thought it'd be 5.
No, it's 6. So we will start with Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Shields. It's great to have you here and to have another small business person, telling stories of success here in our great city. So I actually have 2 different questions, and the first one might have 2 answers, and that's okay. So what do you see as the most pressing concern for the city in the current year and in the next 3 years?
I think the most pressing concern of our city is the homeless. I see that as a human being. I see their suffering. I see their needs. But also as a small business owner, there's a lot of frustration. And so I don't have any answers of what to do with that situation, but these are people that need our help, and I think that our community also recognizes that. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your answer. So the second question kind of starts with a short statement. So the city currently has no bonded indebtedness. So for what capital projects, examples of capital projects might be rebuilding City Hall, expanding the airport, doing road construction. So for what projects would you consider using bonded indebtedness, bond money, as the financing source?
I don't know if a homeless facility would go under that. That would probably be my top. Another one that I hear from pretty much everybody across the board is our roads. Just
safer roads, roads with less potholes, maintenance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for coming. Thanks for applying. If you could address one issue to change or improve services to Wasilla residents, what would it be, and what recommendation would you bring before the council for discussion, and why?
I think our city has done a fantastic job on pretty much everything, and I'm sure that we don't have the answer quite yet for the homeless situation. I think that is something that I'm very passionate about, and hopefully we can start discussing more and more on what to do, so that people have warmth, they have health, they have food, and the community as a whole would have some safety. Yeah. As a small business owner, I've seen a lot, so that's why I mentioned that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. Do you feel Wasilla city officials are using appropriate media sources to keep residents informed of current issues and policies? And if not, do you have a recommendation on how we could improve how we inform Wasilla residents of public information, events, and other issues that impact the city?
So my only source of information that I really use is social media, primarily Facebook, and I am up to date. I know that the Frontiersman has articles that they post in there. I don't take a newspaper or watch television or listen to the radio, and yet I get the information. So my answer would be yes. I think that the city is doing a really fine job.
Thank you.
Okay. And Councilperson Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Tammy, for coming forward. I know it's not easy to step up in
Not my wheelhouse.
community, but honestly, it's really great to have you here. My questions are surrounding the budget, and so the city generates about 76% based on the sales tax collection of 2.5 cents on the dollar, and it's equal to about $18 million annually. Do you think the city revenue is being used efficiently and effectively for our Wasilla residents?
Yes, as far as I have seen and heard, I do believe so.
And then just generally, what is your philosophy about government and spending revenue, and
Right, I
what
believe
your priority is?
definitely small government. I appreciate the conversation today about going back and forth on the mayor's car and discussing how it would appear and, all the fundamentals. I think that that's very wise use of time to really hash those issues out. I would be a conservative spender, but there are needs in our community, and I'd like to hear what the people feel are priorities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That is 6 questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're out of the hot seat.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Feels there's water in the back if you'd like some.
I brought one. Thank you.
And our next one is Todd Stafford. Mr. Stafford, you have 5 minutes to talk about yourself.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for your service. My name is Todd Stafford. I've lived here in Wasilla for 26 years now, and I love it. I think we have a healthy, vibrant community. We have plenty of recreational opportunities with the Menard Center, the Brett Ice Arena, Lake Lucille Park and the other parks, Smith and Bumpus Ball Field, and all the activities we heard outlined earlier. It's just a great place to live. We're the retail hub of the valley. People come here to shop. We have a great library and museum. We have an airport with a ton of potential. And we have the Wasilla Police Department providing safety and security for its people. And I think there's even more that could be done here. Recently, Governor Dunleavy was in Palmer and spoke on some of the small-scale manufacturing that was happening there. And I remember thinking, why not Wasilla? Surely we could host some of that too. A lot of the bigger companies have their headquarters in Anchorage, and I think that we could provide a better spot with a better place to live. We have a lot of tourists that transition through Wasilla going somewhere else, and I think that we could encourage them to stop and stay and enjoy some of what we have here to offer. We have opportunities outside of our city limits that I think could bring benefit to our town, things like the West Susitna Access Road, oil and gas development on the North Slope, the Alaska Railroad extending to Port McKenzie, or even more recreational opportunities in Hatcher's Pass. I think we're positioned uniquely to benefit from that and to economically benefit from that. We have our challenges, infrastructure, homelessness, food insecurity, drugs and alcohol, like any small town. But I think we're well suited to meet those challenges and to continue to become an even better place to live. Wasilla was born in 1917 when the Alaska Railroad crossed the Carl Wagon Trail to the Willow Creek Mining District, and people moved here for opportunities. And I think all these years later, it's still a place where there's opportunities for people to come and live. So I think it would be great to be able to serve in the town that has given me so much. Thank you.
Okay, we have 6 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
And the maker of the questions will ask them. We'll start with Councilperson Brown.
Thank you for coming and thank you for applying. First question, do you feel the Wasilla city officials are using appropriate media sources to keep residents informed of current issues and policies? And if not, do you have any recommendations on how we can improve how we inform the public, public information, events, and other issues that impact the city?
It's a good question. And I want to say thank you for your service to the Alaska Territorial Guard. So I heard about this position because of a Facebook post. And so, 20 years ago, it was a newspaper is how we got out to the community. Today, it's social media. And I think a good job is done of making the public aware. I know your website is always up to date with upcoming events, and the Facebook page is always up to date. And I feel like those are the mediums of today where we would get that information out. And I feel that those that are doing that are doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question. If you could address one issue to change or improve services to the Wasilla residents, what would it be? And what recommendations would you present to the council for discussion and why?
We have many challenges, but I think continue to improve and increase the infrastructure, roads primarily. I know there's talk of the one-way couplet in and out of downtown Wasilla. Things like that I think are going to be of a great benefit. And just continue to build routes to help move traffic around.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilperson Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you being here today. We don't usually have maybe 1 or 2 people applying. To have 5 or 6 people step up is pretty exceptional. So anyway, my question is surrounding the sales tax collection and kind of the budget. So the city generates about 76% of the revenue from our 2.5 sales tax, and with that collection, we bring in probably about $18 million annually. Do you think the city revenue is being used efficiently and effectively for our Wasilla residents?
I believe so. I appreciate the fact that the city shows restraint in collecting more taxes. I know as a resident of the city, I don't have any additional on my property tax, and we generate a lot of revenue through the sales tax. It seems like that they're efficient with it. I don't see a lot of projects being done that aren't necessary or extra. And I think it's done. I think the city's done very well. I know there's times we've raised that sales tax to 3% to pay for the library, and I think the Menard Center was done that way too. And then they took it right back to 2.5%. So I appreciate that I live in a town where it's not how much can we get out of the taxpayer, but how effectively can we use it, and then let the people keep their money.
Great answer. Thank you so much. My next question is, what is your philosophy with regard to our city revenue and how it's spent, or kind of your priorities?
Priorities is, for me, would be public safety and infrastructure. If you want to attract new residents, new businesses, but they can't get around, or it's not safe to get around, I think that will hinder everything. So infrastructure and public safety, I think, for me, would be the two things I would most want to see done well.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Green.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Stafford. It's always great to see folks that want to serve the city, and certainly looks like you've done some homework to work on that. So I have two questions for you, and actually the first question may have two answers, and that's okay. So what do you see as the most pressing concern facing the city in the current year, and what would be the most pressing concern in the next 3 years?
I think the most pressing concern in the next year is to continue to recover from COVID, to see our businesses spring back and get back to full force. I know for a lot of them, they're struggling to find employees, and that limits their ability to be open. So I think in the next year, continuing to grow out of that, assuming no new variants or bad news that comes with that. Over the next 3 years, there could be some economic challenges on the horizon, depending on what happens in the oil and gas industry and gas prices. We always know that, our state government runs off oil and gas revenue. And so depending on what happens in that sector, it'll have an impact on state budgets, which of course will bleed down to city budgets, as far as who's maintaining stuff, who's paying for stuff.
Thanks, sir. Let me finish my note here.
Mm-hmm.
And the last question, I'm sure you'll be glad to get through, starts with a short statement. So the city currently has no bonded indebtedness. For what capital projects, and examples of capital projects would include a city hall rebuild, airport expansion, road construction, as well as others. So for what capital projects would you consider using bond money as a financing source?
I personally would be very hesitant to push getting bonds. Debt can become an easy thing because it feels like free money, and then you pay for it and your children pay for it for years to come. And so I would prefer the funding method like they did for the library, where they bumped up the sales tax until the necessary revenue was raised, and then they brought it back down. For me, bonded indebtedness would be like the last resort. I would rather see the funds raised and then the building built, or the project done, if at all possible.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're free from the hot seat.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, they have to vote.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to enter executive session for subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation or character of any person, provided that person may request a public discussion in accordance with Wasilla Municipal Code 2.04.080B3. Specifically, executive session is to discuss the applications of those persons who we just interviewed for vacant city council seat F. Those present in the executive session will be the entire city council and the city clerk.
Councilman Brown, second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Brown to enter executive session for subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation of or character of any person, provided that person may request a public discussion in accordance with WMC 2-2.04.080B3, specifically to discuss the applications of the applicants for vacant seat F. Those present in the executive session will be the entire city council and the city clerk. Is there any objection to the motion? No objection. The council will move to executive session in the council city conference room. The time is 7:40. Is there any objection to the motion? Council, how do you wish to proceed with the appointment to vacant council seat F?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move, based on the interviews that we had today and the applications that we received, that we applaud all of the candidates. They're all certainly qualified for the position and should be given accolades for their thoughtfulness and their answers and their desire to serve. It is unfortunate that we have only one seat to fill because we certainly have more qualified candidates than that, and we thank them all. However, I move the council appoint Elena Rubio as the council person for seat F.
Councilman Brown, second that motion.
The motion has been made by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Brown to appoint Elena Rubio to council seat F. Is there,
The roll call vote?
Yes, please. Roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Johnson on the appointment.
I will vote yes, but I wanted to make a statement that all of the candidates were very eloquent in their answers and were prepared and would do a good job. And I wanted to thank you for your applications and your time for this application.
Councilmember Brown.
I vote yes, and again, I applaud all the candidates and encourage you to either run or to apply for one of the commissioner positions, outstanding candidates.
Councilmember Vilak.
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Shortest answer ever, yes.
That's got to be a record.
It is a record.
The motion to approve Elena Rubio to council seat F passes unanimously. Councilmembers Sullivan, Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Brown, and Vilak in support.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please administer the oath of office to Elena Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you like to come forward?
And after the oath, newly appointed Councilmember Rubio will join us at the dais.
So would you like to stand with me? And I'll come around to there.
Look at her.
That'll work for me. Maybe usually, how about we face each other? Okay. Maybe you want to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Elena Ray Rubio.
I, Elena Ray Rubio,
Having been duly appointed as an official of the City of Wasilla,
having been duly appointed as an official of the City of Wasilla,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United
and the
States,
Constitution of the State of Alaska
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the Wasilla Municipal Code,
and the City of Wasilla Municipal Code,
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially discharge my duties as a council member
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially discharge my duties as council member
for the City of Wasilla to the best of my ability, so help me God.
for the City of Wasilla to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Could we get the council, maybe, and Madam Mayor to come up for a photo?
Absolutely.
Group photo?
You guys. I'm gonna let get my chickens all. It's like herding cats.
Herding cats would be a lot easier.
I know.
I get to stand behind Mr. Brown.
Stand behind
No
the
one
tallest
can
person in the
see.
room.
Yeah, sure.
Who is that?
That ain't me, let me tell you. Go. One,
2,
3.
Simon. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
I should know better. Thank you, congratulations.
Did he get bunny ears behind you?
Huh?
Did he get bunny ears
Yeah,
behind
he
you?
doing something.
He was. I bet that's what he did.
I can't believe you said that big name.
You did, didn't you?
See, she ratted you out.
Proclamation. You have to sit next
So,
to me.
in the interest of full disclosure, we had an oath for everybody. We had 10 cards for everybody.
Yes. Our clerk is great. She likes to be prepared. That's great for the rest of us. Okay, we are now at communications. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the IM.
Thank you. That's IM number 2203, reported reviser of ordinances to the Wasilla Municipal Code, Chapter 120030, general penalty, and Wasilla Municipal Code 1633, 100 violations penalties.
Okay. There is no commission minutes. Audience comments. 3 minutes per person. And seeing no one, we are now at the mayor, clerk, attorney, and council comments. Please keep your closing remarks limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as noted in my clerk report, if there's no objection from the body, I'd like to start work on revising several sections of our municipal code related to boards and commissions. Right now, we have one chapter that's kind of general, and then we have our commissions broken up, and so you have to flip back and forth. So I think cleaning that up would be great, and then if you don't mind, there'll probably be a little bit of attorney time. I have some questions for her just to make those cleaner and better. So if there's no objection from the body, that's something I'd like to start working on.
Is there any objections?
Spring lobbying trip, council members Vlock and Brown. I know we have we tentatively had a schedule for the end of March. I believe that is going to be pushed into April. More information will be coming. Thank you all so much. The Planning Commission and the City Council, we got a A+ from APOA. All of our financial statements were filed on time. March 15th is the due date. And then if you haven't done so, look at all the budget meetings we have scheduled, April and May, and then get those, save the date for you, because we have lots of meetings during that time period. So thank you so much. That's all I have. And Ms. Rubio, thank you. I'll be in touch. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam Attorney.
No comment, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I want to offer heartfelt congratulations to Councilperson Rubio. I look forward to serving with you. There's a lot going on here, and there's always a lot going on, so sharpen your pencil. Councilperson
Sounds good, thank you.
Wait after you to make sure that we get that budgeting stuff down. Secondly, a couple of requests. Number one, to Danielle, or excuse me, to Director Bischoff. Sometime prior to the next meeting, could you email what the current couplet plan is through DOT? I mean, where they're at. I thought I heard 85% at one point, but their website is really more concerned with more immediate projects. But if we could get that information, I'm getting a lot of questions about that, particularly with summertime coming up. I'm sure the other council members would appreciate that as well. Third thing is for Chief Long. Lots of Facebook buzz about the new cars. If you could please, at the next meeting, bring one of the cars 15 or 20 minutes early so council persons could look at that and perhaps talk to officers about what the advantage of a full-size SUV and the way it's outfitted are. I would appreciate that as well.
I'll do what I can. It'll be up to scheduling and availability, but I'll do what I can for you.
Okay, great, thank you. And last, as many of you may know, I am on the board of Valley Performing Arts. And of course, Valley Performing Arts is very concerned about your health and about your pocketbook as well. So in the interest of conserving gas and making sure that you just do one trip instead of two, VPA has a dinner theater going on this weekend and next weekend. So instead of having to drive to dinner and then drive to the theater, you can just drive to Evangelos and see The Wild Women of Winedale, which has nothing to do with the current city council, and enjoy yourself. Everything I've seen, it's a great play, really enjoy it, and I hope you'll come out and support community theater. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations to Councilman Rubio. And again, as I said earlier, I was highly impressed with the interviews we did tonight. And there's several open positions on boards, and the election is coming up real soon here, so I hope you will consider pursuing this deal. We need that kind of talent. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to echo Councilmember Brown a little bit, but anyway, thank you so much for stepping up to serve on City Council, Elena. We welcome you wholeheartedly. I just want to say I too have been an audience member wanting to be on City Council and was not chosen out of 4 different candidates. And I was a previous planning commissioner and council member, and I still wasn't chosen. Keep trying. And, again, as was stated, we have positions open, whether it's Parks and Recreation or Planning Commission or any of the other boards or commissions. Please consider that, because what I saw tonight was, oh my gosh, a group of people that want to be engaged in the city. I have to tell you, there are many times that we're here and there's no one in the audience. And it feels like no one wants to be engaged in the process. You all want to. And please know how much I appreciate that and appreciate your time to come forward and face the scrutiny of council with 6 questions. And thank you so much.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilmember Velock.
And I too want to congratulate Alina. Welcome. It'll be great. I look forward to working with you. And also, you other applicants, you did do great, and that was discussed. So please, as Colleen was saying, put in for those other positions. And one of these days, you'll probably be sitting right up here. So, thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you again for your interest in our city. Thank you for applying. Chief Long, I do have a request, and in the past, I think 3 or 4 city council meetings, we've had citizens that have complained about speeding. Could you give us a report as to how many speeding tickets we have issued within the city, and whether we've seen an uptick in speeding tickets or enforcement thereof? I know you don't have that information right now, so I'm not going to ask. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Rubio.
I don't think I've ever used one of those in the commission office, but I got it figured out. I just want to thank council. I'm honored to serve, and like we talked about in the room, you guys, I would tell you yes, just like everybody else. I'm going to echo, keep trying. I think that any one of us would have been a great candidate. Work for the city for sure. Thank you.
Okay, I will echo what all of the council has said. Thank you so much for applying. We definitely have openings on commissions, and we can use you. So, because every commission, it helps to move the city in the direction that we need it to go. It's not just people here at the dais, it's the commissions that are in the city. I served on Planning Commission, I served on City Council, and now I'm sitting in this seat. So we all start down at the bottom of the ladder, but you keep being involved. And Elena, congratulations. I look forward to working with you. So,
May I make a comment?
yes, sir.
I know during the interviews and during the executive session, many of the council members made notes which are personal and confidential. If they'd like to leave those with the clerk, I'm sure she'll destroy those. Thank you.
Okay. There are no items scheduled for executive session. We've already done that. And with no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless objection is raised. Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:24.